remember the very first meeting I went, it was beautiful. So many Black students, so many disciplines.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I didn't know they existed.
Welcome back to my channel. I am Adri Corti. The goal of my channel is to make academia entertaining and accessible for you. So please make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so you always get notifications every time I post. Today I am super excited to be interviewing two members of the Organization of Black Graduate and Professional Students, also known as OBGAPS, here at Vanderbilt University. So this is Logan Northcutt. He is the current president of OBGAPS, and this is Danielle Derville, and she is the current treasurer of OBGAPS. So welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So do you guys want to add anything, tell people a little bit about yourself before we jump into the interview?
Actually, I guess I could go first. So as she said, my name is Logan Northcutt. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in the cancer biology program. And as she said, I also serve as the president of the Organization of Black Graduate and Professional Students.
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm from Haiti. I'm a fifth-year PhD candidate in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese here at Vanderbilt, and I'm the treasurer for OBGAPS.
Okay, so we'll just dive into the interview.
Gotcha.
The first question is, what is OBGAP's mission?
What we focus on is be able to dedicate ourselves to be able to enhance the experience of the Black graduate and professional students on campus, whether it be through academically, social events, and the other events that we have throughout the year. So we essentially strive to make sure that every student, every Black student has a positive experience while being in their program here at Vanderbilt.
That's great. So when was OBGAPS founded? No one knows.
Good question.
We could start going all the way back to maybe somewhere in the late 2000s.
Okay.
But that's about where we start seeing some more stuff. We still have stuff all the way back to 2015 and some other different things as well too. So OBGAPS has definitely been a presence for a while on Vanderbilt's campus.
Do you know who founded OBGAPS? Was it students or faculty?
I would assume it would be a student initiative because the organization is created for students, but we do not know for sure. I feel like OBGAPS have been part of Vanderbilt for the longest time.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. I'm glad it's a good one.
It's a good mystery. So what kind of events does OBGAPS have?
So we have a variety of different events. We have everything from social events. Just last year, we hosted panels for Women's History Month, and we actually did a virtual panel with everyone. And previously before as well too, we hosted a ton of social events. So we usually have our annual holiday soiree, and we have our honors gala, where we basically come out and celebrate all the excellence and stuff that has been happening over the academic years. And so we just do a variety of different things. Right now, I was just on the call with trying to do some career development stuff as well.
We usually have at the beginning of the semester a welcome picnic.
Gotcha.
A lot of people come and they get to celebrate and they get to see that there are actually people who look like us.
Yeah.
We usually have one general members event every single month where we just meet and we talk about some issues that's going on, the place to review, and then we have another one during the month, which is more social events. So maybe bingo or going for bowling, going for a happy hour, a little bit more relaxed, less academic focus.
Yeah, just for everybody to kind of come together, as she said, just to everybody just kind of blow off some steam and just have some fun and just get a chance to know different people from different departments and everything like that.
Has that been kind of altered because of the pandemic?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
So as president, I was also president last year as well too. We had to kind of maneuver around, figure out what's the best way to be able to have those things. So last year, what we did is that we actually created art bags for everybody. So we had painting other things that you could just grab up and get. And then we also used to have some other different trivia nights and other things like that as well too, just for people to kind of come together and just make sure that everybody is still accounted for and everything like that, and making sure everybody still feels their belonging in this space and everything.
Yeah, nice. I feel like some organizations kind of had to give up during COVID, but it's nice to hear that you guys kept trucking forward. That's good.
Yeah, we just definitely wanted to make sure that happened. Especially one of the big things was just first and second year students who might be coming into this space as well too. We really wanted to make sure that those students definitely felt a part of the group as well too.
So into the gritty stuff.
Oh, the hot questions.
Hot question. Okay, so why do you think certain identities are underrepresented in academia?
We can, start going down the list.
That's a very loaded question.
Everyone says during my interviews, they're chill.
Seriously, I think a lot of things has to do with resources, right? Not historically, not all of us have had a chance to actually go to school and pursue higher education. So if you don't have that kind of expertise, then an employer, like in academia, would not necessarily look at you. A lot of us also didn't know that that was an option granted for us. And also, like, I think for me, in an immigrant perspective, you're coming in this country, you're trying to succeed, right? And your parents necessarily are not going to be looking at academia as like the way to succeed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they'll be looking more like industry and stuff. So resources has been the reason why a lot of us have not been represented. And of course, we can talk about like racism, sexism, etc. But resources is also a big factor.
Yeah.
The reason why it is really important to have diversity in academia is like you can only be what you see. You know what I mean? So having people that are represented within this space and stuff like that, that helps other students sort of succeed, right? So I've had several conversations where it's just like being able to see like many Black men over in the STEM fields and other different areas like that, and not just here at Vanderbilt as a collective. It's a little bit hard to really picture yourself if that's like the goals and things that you want to be able to do if you don't really see anybody like you. Not everybody wants to be the trailblazer, right? So I think it's important to have that sort of diversity in academia so that way people can be able to say, okay, this is something that I can do. And this is something that I can succeed in.
Yeah. I think being the trailblazer is like exhausting and scary.
It's a lot. I can imagine. Think about all the different things that people have done with like the trailblazer aspect of it. They were always met with some sort of. It doesn't have to be even anything as great as like somebody actively overtly being racist. It could be anything such as small microaggressions and other things of that sort. So, but it is important to have those people there so that way you can be able to sort of see the next group that you're always building on. I think one of the things I always know is like it's always lifting as we climb. So making sure that you're always bringing up other students along or other, whether that be mentees or, students that as faculty students and other different things where like, you're always bringing people up and making sure that space is, starting to become more diversified.
Definitely. So you kind of started talking about it, but why is representation in academia important? Like seeing successful Black scientists?
And I would say not just the scientists, right? I think the social scientists, the humanists like me, it's also very nice to have people who look like us who are in the forefront because our perspective does matter. For example, we can talk about like everything that happened with the Black Lives Movement and the murder of George Floyd. Now in academia, for the humanists, there are positions that are intentionally looking for Black scholars. They're looking for that critical race theory. They're looking for those Black feminist thoughts. They're looking for that different gaze to approach the subject, to teach and engage with the text. That before was not, like a few years ago, there were a few oppositions, of course, but now you're looking at immersion of different fields. Like you have African diaspora that merging with Spanish and Portuguese, for example, or like with French studies. That didn't necessarily was the case, 5 years ago. I think like the fact last year, the blessing of the pandemic for us being Black scholars looking at Black studies is that last year for some reason everybody being stuck at home paying attention to the news. A lot actually for some people just happened. The reality that we've been seeing for some reason really got attention last year. And now we see jobs created as a response to it, which gives us more power and hopefully more representation in academia.
It's important, people tell their own stories in this space. I think a lot of the times, like you said previously before, it's like for other scholars and stuff, they have their own preconceived conceptions and their own biases that kind of work into that. We even see that like in the sciences as well too, right? So I think it's important that we are in the space so we can be able to tell our own sort of stories and be able to kind of give our own perspectives into those things as well too. So I think that's one of the big reasons like why, the representation aspect totally matters for us, especially regardless of what field that you're in. Yeah.
Definitely. What are ways that a PI or a boss can support their Black students?
So many ways. I think you want as a PI or as an instructor or as a advisor to acknowledge your diverse students. I want to make sure that that person may or may not be going through some stuff and have the time to sit down and have a conversation, an honest conversation, where you're actually going to listen. The caveat of that is not to, for example, the Black Lives Matter happened, and then you go to your classroom and you just tell that one student, tell for us what is the perspective of that. No, please stop. Like, we don't want that. If you're concerned and you actually want to have a conversation, please have it on the side, privately. Do not think that we were gonna be the representative of every single Black person in America. Let's be a little bit more educated. So if you really want to help us, educate yourself.
When we had our women's history panel, there was somebody who had mentioned a book by Dr. Belinda White. She had mentioned, going from allies to co-conspirators. I think a lot of times academia, a lot of people like to say, we're allies. But it's like sometimes we need co-conspirators in that aspect. And what I mean by that is, let's take for the GRE, for example, right? we talked a little bit about resources and like how the people in our communities, we don't have a lot more resources. We don't have $200 to take, the GRE. We don't even have, let alone $500 to do like test prepping and other things like that as well too, to get into these like elite schools and be able to get the scores that they need to, right? Like, Vanderbilt, how they sort of like, eliminated the GRE score. Not necessarily lowering the bar, but make sure the bar is accessible for everybody to be able to go over.
Definitely.
So I think that is one of the biggest things, I think the way PIs, bosses, administrators can is to really start thinking about things in the context of co-conspiratorship rather than just, straight, oh, okay, I'm allies, like I'm here with you. It's like, no, let me help you design ways to be able to make sure that this environment is equitable for everyone to be in there.
Definitely. I was thinking about allyship and how some people, like, white people or just people that are not really underrepresented will say, I'm an ally. Do you think that someone can say they're an ally, or do you think they need to be like knighted by someone underrepresented basically and be like, you are an ally, or can they bestow upon themselves that?
You have to really take into consideration what do you think an ally is, and I think that needs to be a general thing, because you see like a lot of corporations and companies saying, oh, I'm an ally. Well, what have you really done to be able to support that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that there is like, I don't think you have to be like knighted by anybody. You don't have to be knighted by anyone to be like an ally, but I think you do have to really take a hard look at yourself and say, like, am I doing the things I need to be able to do allies? Like if I, see somebody that's being able to deal with a microaggression or notice that's a microaggression, am I willing to call that out? Or notice that there is, policy or something that people want to change, am I willing to, be able to sign my petition and stuff like that? I think you also have to take into consideration that what do you feel like your role is to be able to continue moving forward within that. So yeah.
So if someone feels like their PI or boss is not supporting a part of their identity, what do you think that they should do?
I think the biggest thing that you could probably do is making sure that you reach out to, people in, whether it be in your department or in programs and other things of that sort. Just making sure that, you have that community aspect that's there. You also want to make sure that you have people that are in your mentor circle, that people that you go to, whether it be, people in quote unquote higher positions or in a different area that could be able to help you out in your general development as well too. So, maybe your PI or, your boss or advisor, whoever they are, that, you also have other people in that sphere that can help you out in case that particular person, it might not be, what you need them to be. Always making sure that you have that network that's there that's built up.
When you walk into a program or you walk into a new job, I think it's really important for you to start studying the place, right? Like to be aware of the hierarchy in place, to know exactly who's the boss of your boss, who is another person who has the same level as your boss, so that you do not feel like you're powerless. If you, for some reason, cannot talk to your PI, you cannot talk to your boss, you cannot talk to your advisor, there are other professors, there are other faculty, there are other staff that can help you. So you need to make sure that you know who those people, those point of contact are. So when that situation, or if that situation arises, you know who to contact.
Yeah. So how does OBGAPS identify the interests of Black graduate students?
I mean, we do that through a variety of different ways. In terms of the external perspective and broader perspective, I mean, we also have positions on the University Diversity Council. And so, whenever there's issues or anything like that, we help sort of develop what are the next steps that we want to see Vanderbilt sort of be at in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like, next 5-10 years down the line. I was also on the hiring committee for the new Vice Provost of Graduate Education in Grad School, Dr. Andre Churchwell, bring out, what are the things that, students want to be able to see in their next, dean of the graduate school and other areas of that. So that's the one with the broader perspective. The more sort of internal perspective is that we also have tentacles in different areas. I think that's one of the cool things about OBGAPS. It's like, it's not just, one particular partner in one particular school or one particular area. It's like, we have people that are biomedical sciences, humanities, social sciences. And so, we also serve on different committees and things that are like within that area. So we also take ideas, concerns, help funnel up, making sure that they're accessible to the broader organization as well too.
And one initiative that we've been doing in our general meeting is having a 5 minutes, at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting, just opening up to the general audience and asking them for their concerns. Like, what would they like us, giving us that feedback? What would you like us to talk about? What is a topic that is of interest to you? For example, like the Career Center. All of us are here because we want to get a job eventually. So we got this.
You want to be in grad school forever?
We got to leave eventually, what I mean?
So like the Career Center, having an expert who comes, who is knowledgeable about STEM, who is knowledgeable about, like the humanities or social sciences. When we have the kind of meeting and having that 5 minutes dedicated for the audience to actually voice their opinion, their concern, we can start then prepping accordingly. Okay, so who do we need to contact? Who do we need to invite? etc.
Like we work very heavily like with the graduate school as well too. So I mean, our advisor is actually the basically the diversity aspect of like graduate education. He's like the associate dean for that as well too. So if there are any like particular concerns and stuff like that, we have direct contacts with the people that need to be able to be able to resolve any issues that we might be facing.
So you kind of talked about this a little bit, but how does OBGAPS communicate the interests of Black graduate students to the university? So I feel like
I always like, this is what happens when you like read the questions before and like you just
too prepared.
Whether it be on hiring committees with certain people or being served on diversity councils. We actually recently, like the e-board actually had a meeting with the provost of the school, Dr. Raber, and like we had a collective effort to be able to kind of okay, what is it that Black graduate and professional students need, or how can we be able to make that experience a lot better? And so it was actually really fun to be able to kind of do that and connect with them and be able to see them.
Did you ask for that meeting or they asked you for the meeting?
They actually asked us.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was actually really cool to be like, oh, okay, cool.
That's awesome.
You want to chat with us?
They're like, yes.
It's like, we'll be honored to chat with you.
Bring your pen and pencil.
Yeah. They're like,
a few suggestions.
That's awesome. So part of the OBGAPS mission statement is sharing Black culture with the Vanderbilt University community. What does this look like in practice, and why is this important?
Mm-hmm. We always try to support Black businesses. So whenever we have like food and things that are general body meetings, we want to make sure that that we try to think about Black businesses first. And we try to do things in Black communities as well. Mm-hmm. So last year, before actually the pandemic hit, we actually had a cleanup of Jefferson Street. Well, it was actually really cool. There was actually under the overpass of where like Jefferson Street is on like 440. There's actually like a mural of like different Black, predominant Black people in the area and stuff. And like for a lot of us who are on this side like of the city, like we don't really get a chance to go over there that much and be able to see that. And so then they were like, oh yeah, I haven't been over here that long, I haven't seen this. So it was actually really cool. Those are just a couple different things that we try to do.
How does OBGAPS take into consideration intersectionality when offering student support?
Can we define intersectionality? I just want to double check just to make sure, because I thought about that, it's like, what's that mean?
Yeah, I think what it means is just like every person's like identity, whether they be like gay or transgender, and they're also Black. So things like that, all of their identities.
Well, people say that we have events that are for multiple people, right? Like we definitely try to be as inclusive and as diverse as possible. To acknowledge, for example, like I remember before the pandemic, our plan was to have as a gala a trip to the Caribbean cruise. I think that was
that was the one.
Because what you need to know is that in our e-boards, not all of us are from the US. I'm from Haiti. Yeah. There's another one at the e-board who's from Canada. Another one that is from the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
So we definitely try to put like Black culture like in the perspective of like the entire diaspora.
I see.
So like African Americans, Africans, Caribbeans, etc. And the same thing applies to like gender and then sexual orientation, etc. We definitely want to make sure that everybody has a voice, whether you reach or poor, you're from the US or not, you identify as a male or woman, or maybe you're intersex, like whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we see you with all of you. All aspects of you are being recognized to make sure that there's a place for you. So like in the meetings, we ask them like, what would you like? We always ask for feedback. So what would you like us to do more?
Yeah.
Are you more like an outdoor person? Do you want more support? Maybe you want an hour to just study and have people with you. Maybe you want to hear more from alums, what have been their perspective in the job market. Maybe you want to hear from like upperclassmen and like their PI and whatever. So like, what do you need from us? We will try our best to provide it for you.
It seems like the strength of OBGAPS, they're always asking for feedback and listening, and
that's
awesome.
I mean, that's what we always gotta try to do. Like, you don't really know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
So it's pretty important that we sort of have that feedback from everybody to make sure that like we are really servicing the graduate students and professional students too.
Yeah. So Verna Myers, a diversity advocate, said diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. What does this mean to you?
Actually, I really love that quote.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Because I think a lot of people kind of mess up, get confused. So you always got to think about like diversity, equity, inclusion. I always think about that quote as well. Diversity is inviting somebody to the party. Making sure like, the people that you have and the people that you invite within this space are all different in this space. A lot of times we could be in like these different homogenous settings. And you have to kind of be mindful of the different types of people that you have. Like it'll be a boring party if you invite everybody from this one particular area, biomedical sciences or something like that. commonly you're going to talk about, biomedical science stuff, and, the ideas just kind of only bounce out from like that particular area. But then you start inviting people from humanities, and you start inviting people from social sciences, the conversation starts to shift. You get a chance to know more people. But then you start thinking about inclusion is like actually being asked to the floor to dance, right? We can invite as many people that we want to at this party, but it's like you're only playing one type of music, and you're only doing one type of dance. Like, not everybody knows that particular dance, right? So you want to make sure that you have a diverse aspect, making sure that people feel invited and, feel comfortable. And I think taking that sort of analogy into the context of like academia, you also want to make sure you have diverse faculty, diverse students, but you also want to make sure that there are systems set in place for them to be able to succeed. There tends to be a little bit of a problem with, general institutions, because it's not a framework for, maybe even Black students, students from the Caribbean, maybe ESL students. Diversity without inclusion is almost sort of set up for failure.
Beautifully said, and nicely done.
Yeah. I think when universities are, trying to highlight that part of themselves, do you think it's important they say this is how many diverse sort of students we have, or more like retention rate? Like, what are things that you would look for to say that's inclusion versus just diversity?
I think it's good for both. I think both of those are really good to have, because if you just kind of say, these are how many students are to the space, but you don't know how many students are progressing through their program, that's a problem. You don't really know, because it's something you just kind of walk in and a few people walk out. But let's say you have 100% retention rate. Well, it's how many students do you have in? If you just invited 2 people into your class
and they just
all just stay, that doesn't help you. That doesn't.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's important to make sure you kind of look at the aspects of both of those. Kind of holds universities feet to the fire about what is happening within that space, right? Because if you just can say, okay, this is how many people we have come in versus this how many people we have come out. If you're just looking at those things individually, it doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't tell you the whole story about the matriculation. That way you can start pinpointing ideas about what's happening.
So what other organizations at Vanderbilt does OBGAPS connect with to support Black students?
Actually partner with all of the major Black organizations that support their particular Black students inside of their program. So for example, we have a partnership with the equivalent of OBGAPS for the Owen School of Business, the School of Law, the School of Medicine. Don't just stay in the graduate school. Unfortunately for us, we have to be honest, all of our meetings tend to happen in the graduate school locale, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is not invited.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
No. And that's something we really want to make sure that we do, because I know a lot of times, we do have graduate center focus. It's super hard for professional students because, they have a very set thing that they're working on. But we do also invite them as well within their space too. I mean, we are the organization of Black graduate and professional students. So we always try to make sure that the things that we have is everybody can be able to come in.
And we also have a diverse e-board, because I know, for example, our vice president, Sia, is also part of the graduate student council.
Okay.
Yeah,
not this year, but maybe she was last year.
Okay,
she was last year. So it's really nice because she had that input. She could let us know when the event for the one was, when for the other, the conversation that they've been having, what should be, in our focus, keeping it in mind, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Collaborate with any undergraduate organizations?
Not necessarily, but that is something that I've been sort of thinking about recently. We want to do, because we do collaborate a lot with the BCC.
Okay.
They have a ton of undergrads come in and out a lot. It's important for people to sort of see Black graduate and professional students, because somebody might be interested in med school. We have med school people in our organization, right?
Exactly.
So it's just they could be able to get that conversation going about.
And you guys are the representation. They're like, can I do that thing? They're like, yes, I can. So do you want to share any personal experiences of how OBGAPS has offered you support during the pandemic and the BLM protests?
Because I was president last year during that period of time too, and I think that's really one of the big reasons why I came back to serve as president again. One way that it helped me with community building. I think during that time, and even thinking about the Black Lives Matter protests, and even the time that we were in during that time that we, I guess, still are in now, right? Community was the biggest thing for us, and that's one of the biggest things I really wanted to push this year for my executive board and for our organization, is because as I said previously before, a lot of students might be coming in during this chaotic time that just need just to know that people are here, and we're all pretty much friends on the e-board as well. So we will all go stay together and we go all do these different things. So and just even connecting with people to say, hey, how you doing? I even enjoyed our e-board meetings when they were virtual. It's just fun to just see everybody and you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, how's everybody doing? I haven't seen y'all in a while. So
I think for me personally, in addition to the community, I think one of the big aspects of OBGAPS last year in the way of supporting me was to actually push me to continue, right? Because I think when the pandemic happened and the BLM movement, all of those murders really, really we knew that it existed. For us, it was not something new.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were very stuck at home in a pandemic, didn't know when it was gonna end, and you kept on seeing all of that violence being done to people who look like you was scary. It was definitely a time where you really had to pause for a minute and think, okay, do I really continue in that career? I feel like I'm doing my job, but like no one sees me, no one recognizes me.
Exactly.
I feel like, I'm not going anywhere. I feel like I'm stuck, I'm not moving. And I think having people on the e-board, we will be talking, before our regular meeting. I think the meeting was supposed to be for an hour. We were like,
we go like 2 hours.
We just sit down like, how you doing? Exactly. It's like, well, let me tell you how I'm doing. And I think like hearing people like struggling, but like still finding a way to move forward. I was like, well, if they couldn't find the courage to move forward, why can't I? Like, okay, fine, me too. It's going to suck. It's not going to be pretty. But I will also do my chair, because if Ebony, Logan, my twin, everybody's moving along, why can't I? I cannot be the only one, I think like the idea of like having a very tight e-board, a tight community, we're moving forward together. I'm holding onto your hand, no one is going to be leaving behind. Like we walked in there together, we're leaving here with that diploma, we're leaving there together, no one is staying here. So I think that helped me a lot. I think honestly, otherwise I would have been like, I don't know, quit job, I just home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how you said you're moving forward and it's not going to be pretty. I feel that. Yeah, it won't be pretty, but I'm not going to quit.
for it. And that's one of the biggest, strongest points about community, as you were saying before. It's just like, we're going to keep going, and we're going to, as a collective, keep going. Because it's real easy to sort of be like saying, that's it. Like, I'm tired. I feel isolated alone. This may not be, what's right for me, but then it's just like, actually, no, I do belong here. I am in the space, and there are people that care. So, that's why I expend a lot of energy within that, to make sure that, other people can be able to feel that way as well, too.
So, what does an equitable academic environment look like to you?
Yeah, like this should be like Wall Street Journal type. I like these questions. An equitable environment includes a lot of different things. I mean, we could start going down a list of all the different things, but I think it does include a lot of different stuff. It includes representation. It includes making sure that you have co-conspirators in those areas that can be able to really want to diversify and be able to include people in that environment. It includes resources for students who may not be able to afford certain things. Those are just a few of the many different things that could be used for an equitable environment in the academic space.
I think also time. I think sometimes we forget how time is really important. I think us as scholars, to really make that intentional, equitable work environment, we need some time. Time to connect, time to actually reach out to our students, to show them that we're there, that we see them, and they see us. Time to find them to count office hours, talk to us, and see that they are truly being represented, right? It's not just the instructor that you see once a week. Time to actually have an impact on the community at large, right? The community does not stop at the university or at your work environment per se. You are going to be working somewhere, most likely away from home. So you want to make sure that the people around you too are progressing. Because why would you be progressing by yourself, right? You want some time to do that. You are the representation. You have your augmented resources. You have the ability to make a difference in your student's life, in your work, as an academic or as a scientist, whatever the case may be. You also want some time to actually find out what's happening in the community, and help.
Yeah.
However way you can, whether it's just volunteering your time, cleaning the street or cleaning a park or whatever, do not forget the people that are around you.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. When you guys talked to the chancellor, were they interested in Vanderbilt helping the community?
I don't think that was something that really we brought totally up at that point in time.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I think is important because, as Danielle said, our community doesn't stop just in here.
Exactly.
We are part of a broader community, whether it be locally, globally. We all want to make impacts in that area. So that wasn't really something that we specifically talked about during that time, at least from my memory of it. I think that's something that we do need to push forward a lot more on.
Have you made friends through OBGAPS?
No friends. No new friends.
Wow.
No, I made so many friends from OBGAPS, whether it be upperclassmen. I guess, do we even use that word in graduate school? I guess upper level students. Also helps, make a lot of different connections with people even outside, right? As you know, when we first come in, meet with biomedical students. First time I met Danielle was through OBGAPS and other places, started talking about, humanist studies and stuff like stuff I had no idea was out there. So for us to be able to all sort of, commune together and be able to understand, you deal with this, well, I deal with this and stuff like that too. So having that friendship and stuff there has been really, really great. And it's, definitely bettered my time while being here.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's right. Yes. There's a yes with a lot of friends. I've been part of OBGAPS by accident. Actually, a friend of mine took me the very first year. Like, yeah, let's go to, I've heard of that organization, let's go. And I'm like, girl, I'm trying to like survive graduate school. So like, she was just like, oh yeah, go, let's go. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So I went with her. And remember the very first meeting I went, it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. So many Black students, so many disciplines, and from so many parts of the country, and outside of the country too. Yeah. It's like, wow, I didn't know they existed, you know? And from now on, I kept on going to every single OBGAPS meeting. I started like being friends with like people from like, not only the humanities, but the sciences as well. One of my good friends, like real niche, is actually part of the board.
Shout out to
I basically dragged her with me. I'm like, look, we need more representation. You need to come. She's like, I'm tired. I don't have time. Like, you will make time.
Yeah, you will make time for this.
So like in this episode, like we've been having a great experience there. You know, it was our birthday last week. And basically, we had an entire celebration with our close OBGAPS friends. Mm-hmm.
That was actually a majority of people there were OBGAPS.
That's awesome.
It was really fun. So yeah, OBGAPS friendship, that's basically what it is.
Gotcha.
Like, it's tight. If you want to make friends, join OBGAPS.
This is the plug.
This is the plug.
Okay, so what is your favorite thing about being involved in OBGAPS? You talked about community and friendship, representation. What other things?
So many of those.
So many things.
So many things. I think sometimes we get, very settled in like just one area and just like be there in that area. But I think, having people like in humanities and stuff like that kind of expands your thinking. Like, okay, these are different things that I could be able to do, and these are the different, maybe routes I might want to take after, I finish up my graduate program or professional program. So I think those are some of my, really favorite things. I mean, always, getting food and stuff in meetings is good too. So free food is always fun too. Thank you. Just being able to be connected, like with the greater community as well too. So Don in our office has a lot of connections and different things as well too. You always tap to OBGAPS members, to come do different things, whether it be like, okay, students might be coming in, visiting, looking at, graduate programs and stuff like that too. So he taps us, to make sure that, that we're well represented within this area. Those are just a few of my favorite things.
Some of like the friendship, the chilling, the food, I think also picking our brains. I think one of the things that we do when we sit down at the evening, when we start talking, we're not relaxing, but we start talking about our project, we start talking about like what we're working on. And it's fascinating to us. Us in the humanities, we do not necessarily have an idea of like what you guys do in this time.
We barely understand.
They mess with some instrument, they do that work. But I think it's like a very nice idea to actually talk to people like Logan. Like, okay, so they actually goes to lab. I remember there was one meeting that we had. The event ended at 7 p.m. It's like, I'm gonna give you a ride home. And like, okay, I'm like, you're not going home? He's like, no, I'm going back to the lab. I'm like, okay, we'll cut that. It was, interesting to see like their different work schedule, what they're working on. And it's great to have someone from a different perspective and talk about your project and learn about theirs.
What do you see for yourself after grad school?
I always thought about, maybe doing the professorial route. And, I would like to really be a professor at a historically Black college university because that's where I come from. Other things I really want to do, like something in science education, being able to sort of communicate science to the larger population as well, too. I think definitely during this time, I feel like it's relatively lacking, and especially within our communities. So, I think that's something that I would definitely like to do, whether that be like, maybe doing stuff like TED videos, or just think that science education is extremely important.
Well, just like Logan, I see myself in the professorship as well.
Okay.
I definitely want to be a professor, and I also would like to be part of more the community in terms of like public scholarships. Okay. So like distilling a bit of the research and like sharing it with the people at large, right? So not just writing books for like the very inclusive academic gang, but like also like for the community. And like making a difference in my students' life. I think one of the best part for me is actually talking to my students because they're so smart and we pick out each other's brains. So definitely being a professor.
Okay, yeah. So I never asked you guys, do you want to tell people a little bit like what are you studying in grad school?
So I study bone metastasis. So I essentially study how breast cancer cells is spreading to the bone. How do like the different makeup of your bone causes your tumor cells to be able to sort of proliferate and be able to sort of become more cancerous. One of the things that happens when you have tumors within the environment, they spread is like either spread to different parts of your body, but one of the big places that they do is the bone marrow. And so, a lot of people tend to have relapses and other things like that where tumor cells are able to be there in that environment, and like you may not know it for a longer period of time. And so my project is kind of helping to sort of understand why that's happening and like how does the physical makeup of your bone might help that process progress.
Well, I study Afro-descendant women from specifically the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Brazil. and how these women from like the 1850s until 2020 have been using their voice and their work to basically reinsert themselves into the history and questioning their place in the nation.
When you're done, do you like write a book? Right?
Yes.
And you publish a book.
That's it. That's how we do it.
So y'all write novels.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Now the standard for us is about 250 pages to 300 pages.
Okay. That's good.
How about you?
I think we're like somewhere like in the hundreds. Like range is probably like about like 100 or so, or
Yeah.
I guess I'll find out maybe in the next couple years. So
Next 3, 5, 6 years.
you know,
we'll find
somewhere
out.
along those lines.
Thank you so much for being here today and telling us all about OBGAPS and your experience in grad school and in OBGAPS. Thank you so much. It's been so fun.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah. So do you guys have any last words for the viewers today?
Definitely join OBGAPS. That's the very first thing. Yeah, definitely come out. We have a lot of different events and stuff that we do throughout the year. So we definitely want everybody to come out and definitely enjoy fellowshipping with us.
Yeah, we'll see you at OBGAPS.
So you can find Logan on his Instagram right here. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen so you can go follow him and keep up with him. I'll put OBGAPS, their Twitter, and all your social medias here too, so you guys can go interact with them. Again, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and comment and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Okay,
Bye.
see ya.